Colorado State Conservation Board. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We are so lucky because we have Ilima Kane here with us today. She's from the Natural Disaster Mitigation Enterprise. She's an administrator there with the Colorado Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and she will be presenting to us on the Natural Disaster Mitigation Enterprise Grant Program. The presentation will be probably like 10 to 15 minutes long, maybe 20, and then we'll have time for questions. So save your questions till the end or put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. But thank you, and I am going to pass it over to you, Lima.
Great, thank you, Raquel. Hi, everybody, good morning. Thanks for taking some time and letting me talk at you for a little bit. I have maybe 10 minutes of slides and then we'll get into questions and answers. That introduction was amazing, so I can skip through the first slide at least. And some of this you already know, but what you're seeing on the screen now is the number and financial cost of natural disasters from the 80s to 2024. And the point is that it's increasing, like we all know. And then this slide shows the same for Colorado. Again, we're seeing increases in the cost of natural disasters because we're experiencing more of them and they are more intense. So this all led the legislature to put together a bill that established the Natural Disaster Mitigation Enterprise back in 2021. The purpose of the enterprise is to assess a $2 fee for every property policy held in the state of Colorado. And then we take those monies and we turn them into grants for local governments to be able to tackle natural disaster mitigation projects that may be difficult to fund through other funding mechanisms. We can also provide some technical support or technical assistance to local governments. We don't have a formal program for that yet because we are just getting up and running and we didn't want to build something that may or may not be what you need. So that's kind of the nice thing about the enterprise is that an enterprise is like a private business run by the state. So our funds sit in our own bank account and cannot be touched by the federal government, or they can't be used to help cover state budget shortfalls. It's very secure funding, and it can only be used for the purposes designated in the legislation, which is grants and technical assistance, and then a little bit of admin money. So with all the funding turmoil that is happening at many levels, just know that this money is safe and secure. We're really trying to focus on unmet needs in underserved communities. Again, funding those projects that are difficult to get funding through other means. So if it's easy to get a FEMA grant, we can help provide the match for that, but go for the big money. Our money is smaller. It's really meant for those types of projects that maybe are smaller in nature, or they're more immediate. The funding needs to happen quickly, or the cost of the administrative burden of those bigger grants outweighs the benefit of the project on some levels for smaller organizations. Those are the kinds of projects we're meant to fund. We also get to avoid a lot of the requirements that come with federal grants. Our funds are outside of Tabor, so if you have to do those calculations, we are Tabor free. And we have a pretty diverse board to help with that technical assistance piece, and we have some funding to pay for mitigation experts to help us and help you all as well. So we launched our first grant program in January, and it just closed. We just made awards last week. So the press release hasn't gone out. I won't mention exactly who's been funded yet, just because we haven't made that public, but we will very soon. We received 26 applications. We received a request for a little over $17 million, and we had almost $5 million to give away. So we were able to fund 8 grants. We're going to launch a second round of funding in May. And the first round the timeline was very condensed. The second round that we launch in May, it'll be 3-month application period. And it will move along a little bit slower, which hopefully will help people to have a little more time for the applications and that type of thing. We're learning now from that first round of applications and improving our processes, trying to make things simpler and trying to make things a little more reasonable in terms of how we're asking questions and how that relates to how we're scoring projects and being able to distribute funding in meaningful ways. This is a slide of who we funded this round. The little icons, it might be very small for you, but there's like a little fire and then there's a little house flooding. We funded 8, 7 of them were fire mitigation grants, and 1 was a flood mitigation grant down in Dolores in the lower left corner of the map there. So we got a nice mix of applications from around the state, and we're excited to be able to fund a nice mix of applications around the state as well. I will say what we did is we scored applications and we funded from the top down. So we didn't go looking to fund a diverse group of people. We funded the highest scoring applications, and those came from a diverse group of people. So that was very exciting to see. As we launch this next grant round of funding, I will be holding office hours. I will be available to answer questions. I can help you look at drafts to make sure you're hitting the questions that we're asking. My role on the enterprise is to help all of you write applications that really help the board know what your project is and score it accurately. So this is not one of those grant processes where you should be afraid to reach out to me. I am here to help. That is my whole job. So there will be lots of opportunities to connect in different ways. I can schedule one-on-one meetings. I'll have those office hours. We can set up email exchanges. Whatever works for you works for me. Each round of funding will fund approximately 10 grants. We have around 5 to 6 million in fees that we're collecting every year. The first year was a little lower because we weren't collecting on a full year of policies. So the next round of funding will have a little bit more money to give away. But legislatively, we can only give up to 15% of the amount of fees we collect every year, and that's capped around $850,000. There is an opportunity to apply for up to about $1.4 million, but the entire board has to unanimously decide that that project is worth giving away 25% of our budget. So I'm not discouraging people from applying for that bigger amount, but do know that it is very challenging to get that award amount. So if your project can fit in the $850,000 realm, that's a little bit safer bet in terms of budget. That being said, some of the projects we funded were very small dollar amounts and they just scored high, and many of them were at that $850,000 amount as well. So the scoring doesn't really look at how much money you're asking for. It's just looking at how well does your project align with the goals of our organization. The types of projects that we fund, this is a very short list that was provided with the legislation, but you can tell they're very much hazard mitigation projects. So wildfire and fuel mitigation, slope stabilization, watershed restoration, drought mitigation, and other types of activities like that that are very much directed at hazard mitigation projects. So keep in mind, we're assessing a fee on property policies for insurance held in the state. So we need to pay that back, right? If we're giving out grants, we should be doing something that can help that insurance industry know that their fees are shoring up communities and areas to feel less of that disaster when it does hit, to mitigate the impact of the disaster. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this grant program. There are a few ineligible projects. Those include renewable energy generation, resources or technology, and routine operations. So these grants are really looking for, are we funding a specific project that you couldn't normally do with your regular operations? So is it a project that you've been wanting to do, you just don't have the funding, and this is a great opportunity for us to fill that gap. these funds are not meant to cover things you might do once every 3 years anyways. And those projects tend not to score very high as well. So do keep in mind, these are for specific projects, not things you would normally do. And I'm kind of making a big point of that just because funding has gotten really tricky recently. And so I want to set everybody up for success. This probably isn't going to fill a gap that you used to get other funding for. This is really meant for those things that you haven't been able to fund in the past. Our goals as an enterprise and with this grant program are to create a positive impact on communities with unmet needs around natural disasters and natural disaster mitigation. We really are trying hard to build a culture of learning and growing with the communities that are applying for these funds. We are a very hands-on group. We want to make sure that we fully understand what the need is and we're helping to meet that need. And we're making it easy to do that. So our grant application is all of 12 questions. It's the narrative fits on 4 pages. We are not looking for War and Peace here. We want you to briefly describe what you want to do and show us that it's going to have a lot of value to your community. And that's all we want to know. And then there's a page for like timeline and budget. So it's a very short application. It's meant to be straightforward and simple. And we're really hoping to ask questions that help you to propose projects that really do reduce the cost of those natural disasters in your community should they hit. With that, that's literally all I have for slides. You can see my website up here, my email address. I'm going to put those both in the chat as well. If you go to the email, or I'm sorry, I'm typing my email as I say it, and so that's why I said email. If you go to the website and scroll to the bottom, there will be a place to enter your email address. That will sign you up for an email listserv that you can unsubscribe to on your own as well. So I will not spam you, but if you feel like I am, you can take yourself off the list. But that is where I will post and notify everybody of new grant opportunities and that type of thing. So it's helpful to get on that list. You can also email me directly and I can put you on the list if you prefer that. And I will open it up for questions now. You're welcome to type in the chat or come off mute. Oh, I should mention that of those 8 we funded, some of them were conservation districts. So we got a lot of applications from conservation districts, and we funded a couple. So you all have great project ideas. So we're encouraging you to continue to apply.
Hi, this is Jennifer Tucker from West Adams.
Hi, Jennifer.
Couple questions. We've held a lot of wildfire mitigation programming in our conservation district, working with everything from local fire departments to wildland fire operations. Most of the issues we deal with are non-forest related, obviously, because we're here on the plains and a lot of urban interface. As far as prioritization of these grants, where would those sort of things fall in?
They fall in pretty well. I'll go back to the who we funded slide. So up near Aurora, there was a wildfire mitigation that is very urban related. And again, it was really about trying to get fuels down in a non-forested area. So I think those types of projects are very valuable. What you want to do in your application is talk about how it's been difficult to get funding for that type of project and the impact it can have on your community. So part of the application will ask you how your project aligns with your local mitigation plan and what kind of input you got from community as you came up with that plan in your project. So if you can show that your project is going to have a big impact on your community should one of these disasters hit, that's what we're looking for. We're not necessarily focused on only mitigating fire in forested areas, or only mitigating flood in around rivers and streams and things. There's, as you can see on that eastern slope, we haven't, eastern side of the state, we'd love to see some projects over there, maybe around slope stabilization or soil stabilization projects, things like that. So every project is a good project for us. And you can go on our website and look at the scoring criteria. So we're being very transparent. We're going to tell you exactly what we're looking for and what's going to score high. So I'm sure you all have a million projects, but as you're thinking of your projects, look at that scoring criteria and think about which one's going to score best for this funding mechanism. Does that help?
That does. And a quick follow-up on that is looking at some of these, like the one in Aurora. Obviously, I don't want to see their application, but is there a way to see what the project, what they actually completed?
We just are going under contract right now, so nobody's completed anything, but you will be able to see who the applicants were, and everybody's been very open. I'm sure you could reach out to them and say, would you mind telling me about your project? We are sharing information we feel comfortable sharing, but we don't want to overshare. Does that help?
You bet. Thank you.
Any other questions? And that press release should come out in the next, either this week or early next, and it'll be on that listserv at the bottom of the website where you can sign that up. And there's a note in the chat that Mancos Conservation District received funding, and they said it was easy to apply. So we're excited to thank you for sharing Mancos Conservation District. We appreciate that.
Yeah, they said you were great to work with. Don't leave that part out.
I do my best. I'm generally a friendly person, so I'll help where I can. Any other questions?
Well, I'll make sure to put your contact information and the website and everything in like a follow-up email with the recording from today. I know if you guys have questions afterwards, you can reach out to me and I can get you in touch, or you reach out directly to Ilima. Either way, thank you guys so much for joining us. And I think it would be a great opportunity for the conservation districts to apply. And I'm happy to hear that they did with that first round. That's really awesome.
Yes, all of the applicants were great to work with as well. I think everybody came with very good intentions, and hopefully we supported those. So thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I am available anytime if you have questions or want to chat more.
Yeah, thank you all. And I'm going to stop recording and feel free to go on about your day.